Freeman, Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM. AM 630. WMAL.
8:37. Brett Decker's on the line. He's editorial page editor of the Washington Times. Also was a co-author of the new book, Bowing to Beijing, How Barack Obama is Hastening America's Decline and Ushering a Century of Chinese Domination. Morning, Brett.
Good morning. How you doing? You have the president over doing book promotion for me today.
That's right.
He's talking about that.
Well, so he says at APEC that the problem with America is that we've become a little lazy over the last couple of decades.
This guy, I don't know about you, everybody I know is working harder than usual to try to make ends meet. The president really knows how to stick his foot in it. I think he has to distract everybody from the reality is America's in trouble because he's spending too much. If we can't get ahead, it's because he's stacking up debt in the trillions of dollars, and we're digging a hole we can't get out of. But I don't know too many people are lazy right now. I think everybody, we have millions of people that can't find work. That doesn't have anything to do with laziness.
Yeah, I don't know how he's going to get away with this. I mean, I think this is a pretty damning statement for him to say this now, at especially the time we have unemployment at 9%. I'm curious though, what is your biggest concern with China right now from an economic point of view?
I tell you, people ask me that all the time, and I think the biggest thing is nobody can beat America if we're on top of our game. We have the best economy in the world, except right now we're just shackling ourselves to all this debt. My biggest worry is we have $15 trillion in debt. $1.3 trillion of that is owned by China, and that gives them sway in our politics. For example, if there's ever any crisis over Taiwan or anything else, Beijing can always say, "Look, guys, we'll dump your debt if you don't do what we want." It can limit our options.
Yeah, I mean, apparently while he's there, he says, this is from the Reuters story, President Barack Obama served notice on Sunday the United States was fed up with China's trade and currency practices as it turned up heat on America's biggest economic rival. Enough's enough, Obama said, and not adding, but we can't do anything about it because they own us lock, stock, and barrel.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but, when Obama puts his foot down, I don't think it scares anybody.
That's actually a good point.
The thing is they sent Hillary Clinton, when she became Secretary of State, her very first trip in 2009, and this sent a big message. Her first trip overseas was to China, and her goal was really to beg them to back the stimulus. Because if we don't, all of our entitlement programs we don't pay for. We have to borrow money, and we're borrowing money from them. So in this very embarrassing way, we sent our famous Secretary of State over there saying, to the Communist Party, please, guys, say the stimulus is a good idea, because if you don't let us borrow money, we can't buy your junk. So it's just a very scary situation we're in.
Well, when the president was campaigning and sworn in, he went on this global tour, and he was going to make all of the rest of the world love America again. I guess my question is to you is, what does Asia think of the United States right now? Do they see us as a superpower? Do they see us as a weakening competitor?
I tell you, everywhere you go, the discussion all over the world is three things. Well, I mean, now people are talking about Europe collapsing, but that's kind of always in the background. But it's always, China's rise and America's demise, and has people pretty scared because, the last century or so, when America's been the leader of the world, we've pushed, human rights, the value of the individual. We pressure other countries to act better. If we step aside, that means China's the top dog, and the world's going to be a meaner, rougher place if they're the most influential country in the world. In Asia, people are really scared because they remember when Japan, invaded like everywhere in Asia and took over and did a bunch of bad things, and they see China as kind of being the same type of actor. So there's actually an arms race in Asia right now. All the Southeast Asian countries are arming to the teeth because they're worried that China might do something crazy.
Maybe a couple of years back, I had the chance to sit down with a very high-ranking military official and have sort of an off-the-record conversation. I won't characterize who it was, but one of the upshots of it was that the Pentagon is very concerned about China and its uptick in military spending. And it would seem to be a really bad combination to have not only a strong China economically, while the United States is struggling. The only thing worse than that would be have a strong economic China that is armed to the teeth in the world and continuing to spend a lot of money to build up its military forces.
I mean, it's one of the big problems about the United States having so much debt is eventually we're going to have to cut back. And, you know, it's unavoidable that we're going to have to cut our military at some point. And, you know, we're already, all these debt deals we're talking about now always include military cuts. China is, you know, increasing their military budget hundreds of % every year. You know, their numbers aren't transparent, but some figures are like 1,000% over the last 10 years or something. So, I mean, they're really building up their military. And, you know, a lot of people think it's to take us on, but a lot of people think it's just, you know, like Japan, when their economy hit the wall before World War II, prices went up and they couldn't get the commodities they needed. Their economy, like China's, was dependent on imports. So when the world went into the Depression, Japan decided to just go take the stuff it couldn't buy, and that's what people worry China will do.
All right. Brett, we're talking with Brett Decker, who's with the Washington Times new book, Bowing to Beijing. But doesn't China have its own problems? I mean, you know, look, if they cashed in our debt and their bonds, you know, that would hurt them economically. Their currency's still not, you know, they're devaluing their currency. They've got their own problems with housing. They've got poverty galore. They don't really create any new business, like when it comes to innovative ideas. I mean, don't they have their own set of problems?
You know, they have a lot of problems. One, not having any sort of innovative technologies or anything doesn't really matter because they steal ours.
Right.
So, you know, they can kind of leapfrog things pretty quickly, and they do have a demographic bomb going on. The one-child policy, you know, means they're graying really fast, and, you know, they, because you can only have one child, they have this bizarre balance between boys and girls because people only want to have boys, so they have like hundreds of millions of more boys than girls, and I mean they're going to have to invade some neighbors just to get some girls eventually. But
when does that catch up to them? And you compare it to us today. I mean, I still think if you asked somebody in another part of the world, whether it was Russia or India or Brazil or somewhere else, they'd say, yeah, I think I'd rather live in the United States than China. I'd rather do maybe business in the United States than China.
Yeah, the problem is, you know, we're really undermining a competitive advantage with all these taxations and regulation and new debt under Obama. So people are increasingly not doing business with us. I think what it comes down to is, you know, we need to clean up our own fiscal house. And if, you know, China can do whatever it wants, but our destiny has to be in our own hands. And right now it's not, because we're dependent on borrowing money from a communist state, you know, to keep our economy rolling. So I think we just need to put our green eye shade back on, take care of our own business, and then not worry about China. I think right now the thing we're hoping is that they fall apart before they gobble us up, and you know, I don't think we don't want to be in that kind of dependency situation.
All right, Brett, good to have you on the program. We appreciate it.